Hello, my name is Michael Crichton. The title of the book is The Story of Madrika, and I'm here with the author today, Rosanna Patella, who's going to tell us a little bit more about what this book is about and what to look forward to when you pick it up yourself. Well, let's start with that. What inspired you to write this quite weighty, fairly substantial children's book?
Well, actually, I didn't plan on writing it down on paper. I had planned and did use it as an oral story for my children. They were going kind of through a difficult time. My husband at the time was dying. He had stage 4 cancer. And I was taking the opportunity to drive them to and from school every morning for an hour each way, because I figured it'd give me an opportunity to uplift him. It's really hard, school-age kids, like middle school kids and high school, to go through something like that. You know, they need space. So I used to always tell them stories, so I decided to tell them this story. That period was a year long, so it's a lot of story. You know, that's why the first book is weighty, and there's, you know, quite a few beyond, 6 beyond that. So that's why I wrote it, was to give my children a positive role model and some hope. I wanted them to have a story about hope. And so that's how Madrika was born. I never thought it was going to be anything more than that. But I had my first grandchild. My daughter, his mother, asked me for the story, thinking I had it written down somewhere, which of course I didn't. Luckily, I do remember it. So I wrote it down and I brought it to as a sample for a writer's workshop that I started, for others actually. And then the writers there, who are all wonderful professional authors, said we should really stop everything and make this workshop a way to publish this book. It's got an important message. The world needs it right now. Let's do it. So we did it. And thus, Madrika was officially born on paper.
Given the process that you engaged in with your children, did they contribute to the story at all? Whether it was
yes.
through questions or suggestions? Did they actually come out and say, you know, this is what should happen?
No, because they thought it was an existing story. See, their contributions were actually questions. They'd be like, well, wait a minute. How did she get the magic? Who is Alessandra, and how did she become part of her life? And why is she so big? If she's a fairy, why is she so big? And they asked a lot of leading questions that I would just incorporate the answers. I'd be like, well, let me get to that. But I was making it up, you know. And so, yeah, they contributed. They didn't realize they were my first writer's workshop.
How old are your children? Or how old were they at the time?
So they were, I think, 4th grade through high school, first year of high school.
So then, is that the target reader that you have in mind with this book? Is that who you decided to make this book
So I thought, right? So I thought. But very quickly, as soon as we started to have the book available to people, we had so much feedback from people that were not children, or children of all ages, I should say. High school students, college students, grandparents, parents, guardians, who were giving us feedback on the book and really enjoying the book themselves and asking me questions about it as readers, not just people who are reading to other children. And as I think I had told you, we've gotten feedback from people that I really respect, mentors of mine that are grandparents, who said, you know, the book reminded me about my own personal journey and my own destiny. And it feels really good to remember that I do have my own personal magic that will fuel me in that direction. So it kind of has started to work for everyone. As it's starting to get into the bookstores, the bookstore owners are also saying that. They don't know where to put it. It's not really a children's book. It's not really an adult book. They want to put it out on its own table. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. Madrika's magic.
Perhaps it speaks to the fact that there's a child in all of us.
Definitely.
Now, you've already alluded to some of this, but can you dive in a little deeper and tell me more about the various themes that are in the book?
Sure. Most importantly, what Madrika teaches is that as she is realizing and recognizing her own personal magic, which is like DNA, it only belongs to her. She also has the power to recognize personal magic in others. And what she discovers is that when two such people come together, their personal magic multiplies each other's. So together, they're more powerful than just the two. And so, and of course, she's all about good works. She learns that her mother was actually a warrior against evil things that were happening, and she feels it's part of her destiny to do the same. So now she's going to use all that magic for, as a hero, so to speak. And so that's one of the themes, is that you're enough. Your destiny, your purpose for being here is intended, and that your journey will be fueled by what you already have, multiplied by the people around you that you bring into your life for that exact reason.
What I found kind of interesting is that there's also a sense of loss that I found with Madrika. Number one, her mother having left.
Exactly.
Almost sounded like abandonment in a way. She loses her grandmother.
Right at the beginning.
So at the very beginning there, I found, wow, here is a 16-year-old girl who is really suddenly completely on her own. Where does that come from for you?
But is she? See, that's the interesting thing. So, yes, her mother left her with her grandmother for a reason, to protect her. She didn't understand that at first. And then her grandmother passes away because she's an elderly person. But she's not alone, because they had thought all along in her best interest. And she has all of the mentors that are already in place, each of which has a little piece of her magic, and that they're intended to teach her to perfect. Right? She doesn't understand that other people don't communicate with wolves. She thinks that's normal. So she has all these wildlife creatures. And then she has the fairy, the wood nymphs, the forest nymphs, who are weaponized fairies. They're like Amazons that are there to protect her. And then that's not it. So along her journey, she begins to find Lucas, her counterpart. She finds the three-headed dragon, who is very much a mentor and protector for her. So she's not alone. It's changed. And the purpose of that message, just like my children losing a parent, life does have its difficulties. We are victims of it from time to time. But what you do at that point, if you're pivoted, your life has changed, it's not over. You are moving in another direction, and in her case, a very good direction, because she's pursuing her journey, she's pursuing her destiny, fueled by what her parent, mother and grandmother left behind.
So would it be fair to say that another key message, by implication from what you've described, is that we need to understand that we are not alone, even in the darkest times.
Exactly. And look at the world that we live in. I've had a lot of interaction with people my age, but lots of children and so on over the years. And what I find most devastating to people isn't poverty necessarily, it's not disease necessarily, not even war. It's the fact that they feel that they're going through all of these terrible things by themselves. There's no hope. There's no one out there who cares. The thing about Madrika is that, yes, she loses her mother. Her mother's not in her life at the time, and her grandmother leaves. But there are still people. She needs to recognize those people, even the people in the town that have their own agendas for Madrika. But there are people who care and who maybe with their own agenda want to help. That's a very important thing. It's a very powerful thing to realize that you're not alone. So that's an important message of the book, absolutely.
Well, it's a big task. Publishing these days, no matter what genre you're in, you're up against thousands and thousands of titles. What are your plans in terms of the marketing and the distribution of the book? How are you going to get it out there?
It's really interesting. The book was published and launched in December. And just since then, we're only in January now, it's already started to be available in local bookstores in Canada. It's, of course, available on Amazon. We really push hard for buy local, because we really feel that that's something we should be doing. It's the right thing to do. Madrika would want us to do it, you know. So our guerrilla marketing, so to speak, is to bring something amazing to the bookstores that doesn't just bring people that will buy this book, but we also bring a fully costumed Alessandra, forest nymph, who will read to the children, do a reading to the children in full regalia, wings and all. In the book, apple spiced hot muffins are a big thing. We bring them to the bookstore so that now they're actually eating what they're reading about in the book. And so it's a little bit of entertainment too that attracts people to the story, but also attracts people to the bookstore. And so that's been our angle, and it's amazingly successful. It's a win-win.
I noticed there are a lot of feasts in the book, and I was thinking one could almost begin to consider the development of a recipe book based on the experiences of food.
It's so funny
and very
you say
healthy
that.
food, but there's a lot of food
There's a lot of
in the
food.
book.
Yeah, probably because I'm Italian and we love food.
Oh, there
I
you
don't know.
go.
It could
Well-
be, but yes, there are a lot of people who have asked for the recipe for the muffins. They want the recipe for the muffins because they just sound so delicious. They're buttery and they're hot and they're really spicy and they're like, how do you get that? So when we bring them to talk about children of all ages, when we bring them to the bookstores, the bookstore owners are so delighted. They're like, wait, I want to have a muffin. They're very excited. We even figured out a way to bring them warm. So we bring them in a thermal containers that they're warm. So yeah, there's a lot of food.
Well, there's a lot of colorful ways you're approaching it. I mean, you're looking at activations that involve bringing a character to life in the bookstore.
Yeah.
And even the food, the muffins, those kinds of things. Matter of fact, you're looking at something that is in development right now, which is a musical that is
Yes.
being developed based on the book. Tell me about the project.
So the book was not even published yet. It was just in manuscript form. And probably one of the most talented people really that I have ever met, Terry Keyes, is an actor, director, producer, actually has a similar background to yourself, I think, and writer. And he has published and produced many shows, wonderful, wonderful theater. Decided that this was definitely a project that he wanted to write a musical script for. So Madrika, the musical, is in progress right now. And we have two lyricist composers that are working on the score. Peter Pringle off Vancouver Island and Abby Pittman, a younger lyricist, because we think that the music will even bring it to life more. You know, I can imagine children hearing the story through a theatrical production and then humming the tunes on the way home. I can see it. You know, I think that could happen. You know, theater art is a way of educating like no other way, right? You can talk to people forever, but show them something theatrical and beautiful that engages their spirit and they'll never forget it. So we would like Madrika to have that outlet, and you know, thanks to Terry and his hard work, we're planning on launching the musical, at least launching the first version of it in North America, one in Canada and one in the US. He's in Connecticut.
Well, I can't wait to see what it looks like. I mean, there are many characters, you know, nymphs and fairies and animals, and then there's the people in the city, you know, the interesting characters there.
Yes.
So it seems to me that it'll be quite a sizable cast.
Yeah, don't forget the mayor.
And the
The
mayor,
mayor is
Box.
an amazing
Mayor
character.
Box.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Not
it'll
the-
be interesting. I think
Not
that
the happiest guy on the problem.
no, but very interesting. You either love him or hate him, one of those guys. The forest nymphs, actually, at the beginning of the book, do a beautiful choreographed entertainment for Madrika to introduce themselves to her. And it's like Cirque du Soleil, you know? So I'm really interested in how we present that theatrically. I think it's going to be marvelous.
Well, it lends itself to so many dimensions of production. And,
Yes.
And certainly, you know, congratulations on getting that moving forward. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the story of Madrika in answer to a question I haven't asked?
Just one other thing. In the process of working with the workshop and getting the book ready for publication, one of the writers said, and also my daughter, Jessica, who is the marketing manager for all of us, said, what happens when we know the children who read this and the parents and guardians and the teachers, how are we going to give them an outlet to communicate with each other or with us, with the dream team, with Madrika? And we hadn't thought about that. So we decided to create the inner circle, Madrika's inner circle. So there's actually a bookmark that goes with the book that invites you to join the Madrika's inner circle. And it's actually backed by the Divas That Care, which is a network, a wonderful network of women entrepreneurs that already do a lot of this type of community service in addition to their business. They're already set up to assist and support and lean in, run by Candace Gish, who is an angel. And so we want to couple those two things, Divas That Care network, and expand it further. It's mostly in Canada. We want to expand it to the US, and the inner circle, so that there's a network of support and communication, and again, just not feeling alone, having a way to communicate, that it's easy and it's available and it doesn't cost you anything, so we want to do that. That's one thing. The other thing is that the musical and other things like that are just ways of getting more knowledge, more people to know that Madrika exists. And so we have, I actually have 7 books altogether. So the second one will come out in February. And we anticipate that there will be other artistic presentations of that in the future, building on what we're doing now with book 1.
The story of Madrika, and the first of many to come. A book written by Rosanna Patella, and soon to be a musical, soon to be maybe a recipe book, maybe a whole new brand of muffins. I mean, it could take over the world.
In a good way.
Absolutely. Well, you strike me as someone who just might be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.